Yeah, everyone, this is Thermite, and this is Souboutei Must Be Destroyed. So, not sure how far I'm gonna go, I just wanna ease myself back in. So, last time I said, oh boy, I've got so far to go. I then proceeded to not do anything, and we are on chapter 199. Like, 199 came out 4 days ago. I am still on, let's see, oh boy, an entire page of manga decks is now filled up. Um, oh yeah, and I finished chapter 93, so I'm on chapter 94. At that point, of course, Seiichi was being targeted by the water. Luckily, Taka managed to save him. I legitimately, like, around here, I was definitely saying stuff like, I can see how the series is about to end. I mean, Seiichi was destroying parts of Souboutei with his big drill, like, all the way back in, like, what, the 70s or so? So, uh, I'm not totally sure what we're gonna do for the next 100 and such chapters. I definitely want to get to at least chapter 100, but I'm not looking to do an entire arc or anything. I just want to break the barrier of, oh, there's so much Souboutei and I can't catch up. I'm just gonna catch up, or I'm going to slowly catch up. Just gonna take it a chunk at a time. So starting off with chapter 94. Also, oh boy, I really hope you guys managed to get a typesetter. I mean, clearly you didn't have to drop it, but still, like I get it. I really hope that I don't see too many of those, like going forward. In the sense that I hope that you guys manage to get some help. Like I sure hope it's not just the same core team, but being stressed out constantly, having to pump out over 100 chapters over the last like a couple of months. Zonka's just so. I mean, Zonka doesn't understand. He's too edgy. He's from a different time. He doesn't get the power of friendship. That is essentially what this is. I mean, not quite. It's more, I guess, power of friendship really is the best way to put it, because it's not because they're family. It's not because they're humans. It is because it's because Seiichi has people that care for him that he was able to be saved at all. God, Seiichi's so moe. It's amazing. Like I love his arm there. It's so cute. And of course, Taka, ever the, not wanting to take credit for this. Like, he is, I mean, he's very humble, and I think that is part of why he can, like he is the exact opposite of Dato. Dato is the ultimate in ego. Takaha is the ultimate in not being egoless. Like, he hasn't suffered ego death or anything, but he just does not see a reason to put himself into things. Okay, it's getting a little too cutesy. Gotta get back to the actual action. I mean, realistically, what else do they have to do? Like, the area with all of the possessed people, the zombies, has already been taken care of. Souboutei still stands, but at this point, it should just be just breaking down the mansion, I guess. Like, they've already set off the big hydrogen explosion, and presumably, oh, what was her name again? Shino is not dead, but Shino has taken a blow. This collective consciousness of the water should be out of sorts. It's actually very hard to remember a lot of the time that Kurenai does have this extremely strong mental training. Because, I mean, a big part of the series has been that, her brother is her weak point. So she can be affected by that kind of thing. And the mansion really attacks you on a very personal level. So most of what she's gone through has been things that would break the average person, and it has broken the average person. The fact that she can hold up this kind of absolute horror all the time is it is exemplary. But I keep on forgetting about that just because she is a extraordinary person in much more extraordinary circumstances. And then you have someone like Takaha who is extraordinary, but at the same time he's not like insanely crazy shonen protagonist extraordinary, so it's hard to remember that sometimes. I mean, the fact that she's being brought down to Earth makes me feel like there's gotta be something. She's gotta have an arc coming up where she really gets to show off how cool she is. I do love this interaction, though. Like, not just from a, did you guys work this out in the future? Which is something I do think about a lot. Like, are the problems I'm facing problems that people in the future have? Or, like, is that just a non-problem at that point? Is it like, I mean, this is coming from a very privileged position. I was about to say, like, is this like worrying where you can get clean water? When that is a thing that lots of people right now still suffer with, but I think they'll be really good friends. They've got a very similar sort of like exemplary awkwardness to them. Like they're both, you know, they're both super high class. They both like see their abilities in very different ways. Kairi Kuro sees hers as being more of a curse, more of a I'm ugly and no one likes me. Whereas Kurenai has been told that she is the finely honed blade. Like she is the finely honed blade. She is the pinnacle. Like she is extremely good. But they still have this underlying deep concern that I imagine they'll be able to support them each other through. Oh, she was probably going to say like, don't use honorifics or something, right? I mean, it's gotta be Dido, right? Because it doesn't look like it's a uniform or anything. It's a very simple outline, and I can't think of anyone else in Souboutei right now who would have that outline, like physically in the building. Yeah. Oh, he might kill Kairikuro actually. If the the remnants of the Blackwater are screaming, you gotta get rid of Kairikuro, you gotta get rid of Seiichi, like we couldn't. He might come in and to kill both of them. That's the only way I can see to escalate things any further, or to present more of a threat. Okay, are the arms going for Kurenai as well? Like it looks like they might, but that's not necessarily the case. It could be that they're just reaching past her to get to Kairikuro. No, it looks like they're getting both of them. I am no demon. I am an artist. And no effects yet again. I'm really wondering, like, whether it is going to be a situation where she ends up getting to fight, like, yokai or something, or if it's going to be that she has to learn something. I feel like we're leading, like, we've already had an arc or two of her, deeply being insecure, but I feel like we are leading towards something along the lines of, you've been shown time and time again that your training was useless in these scenarios, but that doesn't mean your training was useless. Like, everyone can be useless in certain scenarios, in the same way that all of the exorcists were completely pointless, or not pointless, but they were completely powerless. Whereas, like, Takaha was able to do so much more than they did when it came to freeing people from the paintings. I feel like we're going to have that arc, but with her, but instead of the other exorcists eventually just, having to be taken out, like, leaving altogether, I feel like Kurenai's got to have some sort of, I don't know what it would be, though. Ah. I wonder if Dido has fixation on her for any particular reason. I don't remember what the girl he liked looked like, but I don't think she looked like Kurenai. But yeah, like, he was fixated on her. And it is interesting that, like, that's all coming up as a, I was going to be, to use you, but instead I'll take Kairikuro. He is specifically overruling what he was told by Takaha. Oh boy. I mean, this could be interesting if it is like, if his final art is something that, comes to life and it is a monster and it is based on Kurenai. I could see an interesting sort of, like, mirror match happening. Oh, that panel looks so cool. Like, Dato has a lot of very scary shots where you really focus on his eyes, you really focus on how warped the lines of his design are. So I really like this as a contrast. Like, it has this very, Halo-esque imagery around him, but it's also very simple looking. And of course, like, I assume these are the paintings, as well as being a visualization for the hallway. Also, yeah, like, they're not tearing her apart or anything, so either he thinks she's dead, or maybe he did just want to, like, knock her out temporarily for a while. Maybe he doesn't consider her to be a threat worthy of killing. Because I can't imagine, like, if he told the hands, kill her, I imagine they would kill her. I mean, there's also the third possibility of she's really dead there, but I don't believe that for a second. Oh, that's okay. That's not, like, I don't think I like the aesthetic as much as I like the painting hallway shots, but that's really cool in its own right. It's actually, was this, like, is her being so completely knocked out? Like, was that the, like, did the hands attack her and knock her out? Or did they just move her to a different location? Like, maybe she passed out entirely because of the taste of Dato. So much personality in the shots. Okay, what did she hear? Oh, whoops. Become my model. But in that case, like, what else is there? I wonder if this is it for Takaha in terms of, like, action. Like, his words might still have an impact, but if his hands are really, like, or if his arms are going to be out of commission for a little bit, like, I don't think they would heal him or anything in order to have him continue to be able to draw and stuff. So this might be it for him in terms of, like, drawing stuff. Oh, right, Karakura's hair. Simple answer. God, I really love how much Takaha's brief ghost moment has been coming up. Like, in a lot of other series, I could see the writer doing that as a, this person's dying, so let's just, have them see a bunch of things. But with this, like, the fact that he became a ghost and floated around and saw a bunch of things he couldn't have seen otherwise is so vitally important to the plot. I mean, I've been talking as if, my mindset when I thought the series was ending very soon around the hundreds was the idea of, even though we have the painting still set up, like, even though they can become portals at any moment, like, the house is basically destroyed, so all you gotta do is destroy the paintings, and that's it, they're done. But that isn't the case. Like, Beto still has the kill switch. I mean, that has been why he's been so scary this whole time. He has the power to end the world whenever he wants, and the only reason it hasn't ended is because he's too, like, not even because he's too cocky, but just because his desire has nothing to do with the end of the world. He's too focused on the painting. Which, honestly, might make Kurenai's existence, like, it might cause her to feel much more uh, guilty about her existence in Souboutei. Like, if she decides that, her existence, her acting as a model, is what caused Dato to complete this painting faster than if he had had to do it entirely from memory. Like, it is very possible, because he's a perfectionist, he could have just decided to never let the water come through until it died by itself on its own planets. Another question is Dato the kind of human being who would, like, is he the final boss who would then say, you've defeated, you've stopped my plan, you've destroyed my painting, therefore, as punishment, I will let the water come in? Is he that kind of person? Or is he the kind of person who would immediately go back to painting and would be extremely mad? Like, he might kill everyone, but he still wouldn't let the water through until his painting was ready. His madness really is the fulcrum in which the entire plot just hinges. Like, is it no longer a portal then? Like, has all the water been used up in this specific painting? Okay, who's at this hospital? I mean, oh, is it all the exorcists, actually? I mean, I do get it, though. Like, any of them could be infected. I would also, especially in this climate, I'm currently recording this on, like, very close to July 1st, 2020. We're in the middle of COVID season. That might be, like, I really should specify the date for Souboutei, since Souboutei is like a time machine in terms of the breaks I've had in between reactions. Like, I've covered so much time in so few chapters. So I should say that. Yeah, like, if any of the water were here, I mean, it would be a problem because they wouldn't be able to achieve the critical mass they can inside Souboutei. But still, like, you wouldn't want any of it to escape, just because of the fear that it could get into any drain. I guess that is the other win condition for the water. If any of it gets into normal water, it'll be able to replicate at extreme amounts and then essentially take over the world. That said, I don't know if they have a way to destroy the water, so, like, if one of them were to have it in them, what would they even do? Okay. So the Kirita sisters are saying that they've all been possessed. But why? Also, I mean, it's interesting to see that they've basically gone back to normal. They had lost a lot of their cockiness during, their arc where the eldest sister got possessed. But it seems like they've really recovered. Also, it didn't hit me until right now that, yes, I do understand the insanity of saying, oh, how could they get rid of the water when they know about the hydrogen? So, I guess it would... No, but then why would you... I guess knowing about the hydrogen still doesn't really help. Because if the water is in your body, like, they're not going to try and blow up any of these people. You can't pull a, a Rokro. You can't swallow liquid nitrogen. And, well, you can't forcibly make someone swallow liquid nitrogen. Chapter 96, The Survivors. Yeah, imagine Barrett's, like, the least hurt out of anyone. Dr. Augusto, actually completely, like, so much better. Just minor bumps and bruises. He didn't even have, the stab or anything. I forgot about that. I kind of thought he fried himself with the electrical gloves. Have we seen Section Chief Madarame before? Also, boy, Madarame, looking at him, like, especially because of the head design, I cannot look at him and not think of Ikaku Madarame from Bleach. Okay, so yeah, they have pumped the air full of nitrogen. Also, did I say liquid hydrogen before? I meant nitrogen. Now, that's kind of suspicious. I mean, specifically the fact that they have not been, they have not been quarantined. But that said, like, that would be too simple of a solution to say they are possessed and they, they're keeping everyone else locked up. Because if they're possessed, why not just go to the bathroom, shoot some water into the toilet, and then use that to take over the world? So what's causing the Kiritas to believe this? Outside everyone's heads, you two accepted those bizarre shadows. Yeah, so I guess they are possessed then. Yeah, there's no other way to say it. Like, I was thinking maybe it's Seiichi's water, but he has so little water. Like, there's no way they would, like, there'd be enough to make the arrows, especially because the arrows are a very black water thing. Yeah, in that case, I think I am forced to accept their, like, even though it is a little weird, and I imagine, like, the point of this is to make you wonder if the Kiritas are being honest or not, I'm gonna have put my faith in them. And that is also a clear way to, like, keep everyone locked up for the duration of this arc. Yeah, plus, if they were the enemy, they would have just said, leave them behind or kill them or something like that. Okay, one of the survivors would very much like to speak with you two. Who's it gonna be? Why are you lying? Yeah, I mean, it is weird, but at the same time, I don't have enough evidence to say that the sisters are doing anything untoward. And it is completely possible, of course, that Yadarigi is saying all of this because, she is possessed and she is very high ranking, so she knows she could potentially get herself free or some of the others free. I mean, they're acting so cocky, but, like, that is part of their persona. That is the way they are. Like, they've gone from being so, from having nothing to having everything. I imagine this has to be, like, they are doing this altruistically, but they just express it in a way that makes you want to punch them. So, are we saying that they were already possessed this whole time, but one of them was acting clearly possessed and the other two were just sleeper agents? I mean, speaking of sleeper agents, there is the alternative look of Yadarigi and the others are, like, they have the black water in them, but the black water isn't influencing them. Like, it is waiting for them to, as themselves, as normal human beings, to be released, and then they'll travel through the bloodstream, come out, enter water supplies, whatever, so far, so forth. I mean, this could be any number of permutations of what I just said. Like, it could be that Yadarigi herself is completely untouched, but the invaders have done something to make it look like there's water in her, and then all the others are actually possessed. Or, I guess if I have to have one guess, because I don't want to blather on, my one guess would be there's enough water in each of them to just make the shape of the arrows. And so the plan is for all the water to recondense itself and turn into Shino or, like, just some other amount of water. I think that would be the best cut, because that would allow us to have an arc like this where we do suspect everyone, but in the end, they're all acting, they're all on the same side. It's just the water creating this internal discord, and then the water comes out and does something, and they manage to defeat it themselves. I mean, the real tough part about the nitrogen gas is that, yeah, like, extremely high levels of nitrogen gas will kill you, just because there is no oxygen in it. Like, enough inert gas in your lungs will cause you to pass out and die. Like, there is no safe way to have them all completely, consume a ton of nitrogen and be fine. I mean, Dr. Augusto immediately seems suspicious because he wants a computer, but at the same time, why would the water want a computer? And this is the way he is. Like, he is... I can easily imagine a non-possessed Dr. Augusto screaming about how he wants a computer to, to do something. So, like, again, could it be that she will meet each of them, and as she meets each of them, like, she will drain the water out of them, or rather, the water will all pool into her? Also, rough typo there. Like, understandable typo, but still. I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, he went in because he thought this was going to be a normal exercising mission. It didn't work out, and now Josephine's back out. So I completely understand why he wouldn't care at all about this. Like, he understands the terror of it, but it's no longer their problem. Yeah, he's too hard. Like, he's too scientific. Like, he is a scientific. What's the term for that? Like, essentially, he is a zealot. Like, he is someone who is like he's so narrow-minded, even though the field he is in is a field that's supposed to be about discovery. Hey, is anything gonna happen? Wait, what? Did this happen? There's no way this happened while he was still a ghost. So is he a ghost again? Yeah, because I mean, we saw like a pretty clear path of him going around the mansion as a ghost, then him going to the other planets, and then he snapped back. This has to be a second time. I mean, I am glad he's getting this information out, but at the same time, this is going to make her seem way more suspicious if she knows all this crazy information about the about Souboutei that only the invaders would possibly know. God, I really love that this is not for us. I mean, it is for us, but at the same time, like, this is not a facet of the medium of manga. This is actually what Yarugi is seeing. Or actually, I guess this is the only one that she's seeing. Never mind. I may have gone a bit too ahead. Yeah, because these are all shaded out. These are probably just for us. But then this doesn't have any grayscale on it. Okay, so what could she possibly do? Like, even regardless, like, even if she were not physically there, like, even if she wasn't already locked up, like, if she were free, what could she possibly do to help them? Floor plans, perhaps? But I imagine Souboutei, like, in Souboutei, floor plans probably don't matter that much. Especially since, it has expanded over time. Perhaps I mean, yeah, we know that the passage of time is distorted. Honestly, it's crazier that it's not even more distorted, considering, Zanka. Okay. How does the spirit thing work, then? Like, did he do this when he was dead? Because that would explain why it is, we followed one Takaha, but presumably he could have been doing all of this at the same time. Also, he is talking to Josephine. So, he is trying to galvanize everyone. This could be really cool. Like, up until this point, the arc felt like it was going to be a very slow, very, who to trust, how do we possibly work together when everyone is so separate, and because the communication's been so controlled. But if they all have the same information from someone that they all trust equally, like whether they trust him a lot or not, they've all met him for equal amount of time, they all know he's the real deal, like he came to them as a ghost, that is enough to win them over, right? Okay, and even though they were sedating her, I'm actually really curious to see, like, is Josephine, like, how does her powers work? It does seem like she needs the doll in order to use firepower. Or maybe the doll is literally the one casting the flames. Like, she clearly thinks it is. But they've been keeping her sedated this whole time. Is it because she could break out whenever she wants to? It's been a while since I got to read a classic. Souboutei Must Be Destroyed. Everyone's finally back on the same page, on a page that everyone can get behind. Yeah. By the way, part of the reason why I'm reading Souboutei right now is I was asked to by big fan of the series. Secondarily, Kakushigoto, the series done. It recently had an anime. It's done by, oh boy, what is his name? Koji Kumita, the same guy who wrote Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei. He has brought up the mangaka of Souboutei Must Be Destroyed a lot, like more so in the manga than in the anime for Kakushigoto. But it's really made me want to read Souboutei. And I mean, initially when we were told how everyone was protected, I thought it was just a general, like, just due diligence. Like, we're not just keeping people, like, we're just not putting them in random prison cells. Like, these are made for this occasion. But now it's starting to feel like it's a prison break. Like, we need to know what all the levels of protection are in order to circumvent them. Chapter 98, the first leg. So if they're all escaping together, I imagine this is the first leg of their escape. Only Barrack may hand Mary over. That is law. Gosh, I'm so curious. And if we never get an answer, it's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But I cannot restrain my curiosity as to how Pyromary works, especially if they're going back to Souboutei actually, because yeah, we never got to see uh Barrett and Josephine like go through a painting. So if they are going to go back, that would be a good time to then do all the all the arcs we quote unquote missed, like all the characters who didn't get to go in, or all the characters where we didn't see their paintings. We got to see their paintings then. I mean, because everyone says that they're her abilities, but she clearly thinks it's the doll. I am inclined to believe that it is the doll. Okay, it seems like we're also just doing a recap of all of the Exorcists. I guess this could be sort of a I don't know where the delineation between the volumes would be. I'll check after this is done. But this really feels like it is a volume that is expecting people to potentially pick up the series for the first time. Which honestly would not work poorly. Because, like, the core conceit of the series is very easy to pick up. Like, honestly, more so than something like One Piece. Like, if I started One Piece in any arc, I would be very confused. Because it is so continuity heavy, and because the main goal of the series, finding the One Piece, is pretty, like, it's pretty abstract compared to what they're doing in any given arc. Where Souboutei Must Be Destroyed does have such a powerful premise. Like, any arc you jump into is connected directly to Souboutei Must Be Destroyed. It may not be immediately apparent in some instances, but it all ties back in a way where you can, I mean, you probably you shouldn't. You should start at the beginning. But if you were to pick up any volume, I imagine you could get into it. And this especially, this feels like it is setting up something that is almost a standalone arc. I also really appreciate that this information is getting out. Like, it isn't one of those situations where a couple of people know the truth and there's no possible way for anyone to learn about it. Like, the information is spreading, whether people care about it or not. Like, whether the government ends up covering it up or not. Like, at the very least, it is getting out. And honestly, in this situation, I don't know if I would like actually like, would I believe Yadarigi or not? She has a very powerful history, but at the same time, Souboutei is so clearly supernatural, so unbelievably weird. I would have assumed that she just had a mental break. Okay. Barrett. I also really like that this isn't Barrett bribing him with just, like, stock or money or anything. It is him giving him stock information. And even if it is involving his company, it is a company that he's no longer a part of. Like, this is completely morally fine. This is just being good at stocks and then giving stock advice. I mean, it's still bribery overall, but it's bribery in a way that I can respect. I mean, the angle is different. He's replacing it. Okay, I mean, they're replacing the camera. So it's gotta be that he's very slowly, like, taking parts out of the camera. And, slowly constructing some sort of communications device using the camera pieces. Oh, I thought that, oh, they're just coming to show their well wishes, but it's gotta be Barrett calling them and then saying, hey, I'm trapped here, please come and help me, as a distraction. Like, there's no way they're actually going to be able to do anything, but still. Big curious moment, actually. Is she singing in English? Because Barrett does, like, both of them are presumably English speakers, and, who are learning Japanese, or at the very least, Barrett is pretty decent at Japanese. But was this actually the Mockingbird song, like, in Japanese? Or was it a different song that you guys localized into being the Mockingbird song? Okay, so yeah, he was building something. Most likely, like, if he's carrying it with him, and we did bring up the card scanners, so it's probably something to like, destroy the card scanners or somehow punk them into thinking that he has access. Oh, okay, so he ad hoc'd one of his gloves again, or the basics of one of the gloves. Is she not using fire? Like, is she just using heat? Okay, that's how they get at then. Alright, so this is the first leg. They're escaping. But how do they get back to Souboutei? I mean, there's also the possibility that they don't go back to Souboutei. Like, they could have some other way of helping, but I can't imagine what it would be. I really love the way this is set up. Where we do get to, like, we did see how this all worked, but this is a really good recap for showing, anyone who doesn't quite understand, like, hey, this is how each person contributed to it. I mean, okay, we didn't actually know about this part. But they stole the protective suits. I mean, is that just to protect themselves from the ample amounts of nitrogen? Or do they have the water in them? Like, is it possible the Kiritas are completely correct and they, like, it is completely possible that the Kiritas are right, that Takaha reached out to everyone, including the Kiritas, and, they're breaking out, but unknowingly, endangering the whole world. Okay, so Floor gave him some of the tools, and then he used those to start taking apart the camera. Yeah, they do have this very clear, like, they weren't directly talking to one another, but they do all understand what everyone was thinking. And yeah, that was merely a body acting on its own. I think it's got to be that they are working as a collective. Like a bit of Seiichi's water is within all of them, and that is creating this network that allows them all to mesh. Oh boy. I mean, that's actual gunfire too, right? I mean, like rubber bullets definitely aren't doing this, right? I guess to be fair, we're not seeing that the ground's being destroyed. Like for all we know, I guess that could just be impact, but it looks like those are actual bullets tearing up the ground. I am so in love with the way that Fujita draws the fire here. Like anytime we see fire in Souboutei, like the very harsh black and whites. I mean, most Souboutei I would say is harsh black and whites, but specifically like the contrast. A lot of mangaka do this at certain points, but there's a big difference between the ones who just kind of do it and it's kind of whatever, and the ones who have it, that manage to make it very stylized. The ones who make it an experience. I could watch Kazuhiro Fujita's Fire all day long. Huh, what is that? Like, it seems like it came out of Pyromary. Like, is it just a small amount of heat that was a slap? Like, it's not a flame. It is, like, it's very blobby. Was it plasma? Oh, man. I wonder how he was able to get this, like, get it across on the phone. Because presumably it wasn't a very long phone call. Did he already have the strategy in place? Bring a bunch of cars and also bring an extra one for me to get, to do a getaway with? Or did he just have enough time to outline all of this? I mean, either way, they must really still love him to be able, to come over and do this. Oh boy, okay, time to learn who's in the right, who's in the wrong. Because that's the thing, like, the way this looks clearly is setting up the sisters as being definitely evil, definitely in the wrong. But that's also just the way they look. Oh boy. And we don't get to see what god specifically they're trying to summon. So, they'll be waiting for you there. So, if the other survivors were, if they are possessed, if they are doing this incorrectly or under false pretenses, why would, like, what could they possibly do by going to Souboutei as opposed to just shooting the water in, under this bridge over here? In the same way, like, if the sisters are possessed, why are they doing this? Like, why are they specifically trying to stop the survivors instead of just allowing the water inside of them to replicate? Okay, so before they go to Souboutei, they're going somewhere. I mean, I imagine to, like, his home or something. Like, they probably have, I mean, I guess we don't know what his company does, but they're probably not arms manufacturers, right? But okay. So I think we'll still be following them for a bit. Like, I guess it's going to be everyone goes and grabs some extra equipment or stuff that they can use to make equipment, and the sisters are going to be tracking them the whole time. I don't think we're going to cut away from this group for now. Or at least I hope we don't. Wait, is the hole still being dug? Also, tragic that this, I assume this was a color page, right? Very tragic that this isn't in color in the volumes. I mean, it's 2020. We have the technology to do color printing in volumes. Or at the very least, I brought this up before. This is probably a tangent no one wants to hear, but if you can't do color printing in your volumes, at the very least, like, do color printing in the digital version of your release. Like, if you're doing physical volumes and digital volumes, the digital volumes should be in color. There's no reason not to. Like, you aren't losing anything. I guess for, like, the English release, you have to redraw in color, which is a bit of a pain. But in the Japanese release, where you have the original files and all you have to do is print them on paper, or not print them at all for the digital release, why not just take the version that was in the magazines and put that in the volume release? Okay, so I guess, like, yeah, some of the invaders were destroyed by the big hydrogen blast, but there's enough of them to continue digging. Oof, they're only 2 meters away. I mean, we knew that, but still, like, putting that into context, like, even if they don't have a lot of people, 2 meters of dirt is not a lot. I could dig 2 meters of dirt away with my bare hands. I mean, it wouldn't be fun, but if you have a horde of zombies, that's gotta be nothing. I'm surprised it's taken them any time at all. I mean, since the prediction. Yeah. And again, I brought it up before, but I really love that Seiichi's like big weakness is he can't drill human beings or things that look like human beings. That's completely fine to me. So how do they deal with it? Like they don't have more hydrogen. I mean, I guess that could be, I guess Floor could just teleport in more hydrogen, but she's pretty far away right now. I do think like maybe within the next 100 chapters, that might be a big part of what's about to happen. Like Floor, like they might go get a bunch of hydrogen and then just have Floor, shoot it in. But what could they do in the meantime? I mean, I guess most importantly, like what can the survivors inside possibly do for an extended period of time? Like at the very least, one of those 2 meters has to be dug away by this point. I mean, I get why Zonka's plan is dumb, but at the same time, it makes the most sense. Like just kill all the zombies. I mean, that's much easier said than done. I mean, the immediate cut from here to here implies that yes, we do have to hope that the other survivors get back in time. I was thinking about whether Takaha could use his arms to send away the zombies, but I imagine like if he did that, Data would probably get rid of his arms. Like that might be the breaking point. I assume the reason why Dado still lets him have the arms is just because he's done things against the house, but he hasn't done anything to harm Dado's painting or anything. Like he hasn't done anything that he can't overlook. So why not just let him have the arms? It doesn't matter to him. Very clever. Gosh, the Barrett Corporation is really, really clever. Like again, maybe Barrett just said all of this beforehand, but if he didn't, like if this was a plan that his people worked on, like what do they do normally? I'm just a former CEO. Currently our son is in charge. So Barrett and Josephine do have not a biological child. Like they have a child. What they might be adopted, maybe not. So currently our son is in charge, and as I recall, the boy I practically raised as my own is now regional manager. Oh boy, we have to have a Barrett and Josephine flashback at some point. I'm hoping two separate ones actually. Like because Josephine seems so very traumatized by the fire, I imagine hers is going to be very small scale. Like obviously we know what Souboutei is going to use to try and like rip out her heart, but I think Barrett's might be way more interesting in terms of like he's so calm as a person. I think you would have to really dig into his past in order to get at the root of what he fears, what really upsets him. Ah, the professor and Barrett feel like they're gonna have a romance eventually. Like it's a good dynamic of someone who's extremely abrasive and someone who is extremely welcoming. Yeah, there are really no limits. It does amuse me every once in a while when I read a series and the mangaka just had to say this person has unlimited funds, so our main cast is fine. Like they can just get what they need to because they have unlimited funds. It is the curse of capitalism. Like in a couple hundred years, if most of society no longer functions under the kind of capitalism that the world mostly functions under right now, I think like fiction from this part of history is going to feel really wild whenever they just have to throw in someone who is extremely rich just to say like there's no way these people could have these resources otherwise. Someone here has to be rich. Oh boy, what are these disguises? I mean, I'm hoping that's not just this vehicle that's disguised. I hope they're all wearing disguises. Oh no, Yadarigi! Oh boy, this is amazing. God, this face. I love that they are playing like this disguise is so bad that Yadarigi has to play it off as yes, this is a wig that you are wearing. Oh boy, that's a bad disguise. I mean, yeah, I guess the professor just could not fit in any other way because of the beard. And I guess he also would. That's pretty wild to think of that, yeah, he refused to shave the beard, so they had to just wrap him up like this. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. Floor looks so unbelievably different. Oh, and that's, yeah, okay. This is such a good plan. Like, especially in Japan, like, it is using, the gap of being foreigners, so of course they can't, do too much and then risk an international incident. But also, there's, the societal pressure of, you just gotta let them go. Like, these people probably aren't who you're looking for. Even if they're all foreigners, like, you can't tell. So who cares? Oh my god, I can't. I'm actually really glad that it's the professor who blew their cover. Like, this is the worst costume out of all of them. All the others, pretty good. Like, even, the bad wig is still a good bad wig. And, like, they're all acting the part in some way. Even Josephine, she can't really act very, at all. But, she wasn't doing anything weird. It really is the professor because he refuses to shave the beard. So, I mean, is the zombie breaking through? Have they reached water? Because if they've reached water, I don't know how we're doing another 100 chapters. I mean, that was chapter 100. I don't think they're getting out of this one. I mean, to be fair, this isn't necessarily blowing their cover because again, they're foreigners. It's completely possible they could just play it off as, yeah, he is the same height, but there's tons of people who are foreigners with that kind of build who have a beard. Oh boy, how are they playing this one off? Josephine is saying it. Really? She's speaking so normally, or I mean, like they're full sentences. I can't believe she's doing this. I mean, to be fair, we've never, like, it's never been said, I mean, it's been said in universe, but we had no, like, real proof that she couldn't speak entire sentences. It's just, she didn't. Ah, the sheer shock is absolutely amazing. Ah. Come on, sing. Oh my god. Seeing the professor actually singing and blushing is wild. I cannot believe this. Like, even including everything that happened in Souboutei, this is such a ballsy moment. I mean, it's so ballsy because there is no supernatural threat, right? Like, at this exact moment. Like, everything else has been extraordinary circumstances and then people really acting out against, the supernatural threats. But this is just a completely different sort of extraordinary circumstances. Plus, like, this entire crowd of people all supporting them, all playing into whatever they happen to be doing at the moment. It's like, oh, it's so good. I wonder if Flora's gonna look like this when she goes to the Souboutei. I could see a lot of fan art coming out of this one at the very least. Oh my god. Okay, she was once a stage actress. I am also so curious about her mental state. Like, the fact that, like, I assume the way she acts normally is the way she's comfortable acting. And then, she really pushed herself to do this. She merely loves to play any part given to her. Okay, so, actually, that might be it then. It might be that, she was just acting. Like, this is a role that she has memorized before. And so she is just replaying it. And then, of course, everyone else played into it. If I had to guess, though, I do think she was, she did, of course, want to help him. And, she's, like, it is just under this facade of, of course she didn't really want to help you. She's not all there. But I feel like, I don't think she's all there. I just think that, some part of her did want to help. I really, like, I'm not saying that the professor is tsundere, but I do feel like we are building up to eventually seeing his dere side. No matter, he's got to have a dere side somewhere in there. Man, for a character who I assume we're not going to see again, Lawrence was really cool. Yeah, we gotta get that flashback, if nothing else. Of course, Professor bought a, like, or, got just a really cool looking muscle car. It's so flashy, and his design is the one that is the most, prominence. I'll destroy Souboutei with my perfect device. Okay. I mean, to be fair, they're all going in expecting mostly normal jobs, or, like, normal in respect to what they usually do. So it also does make sense that, yeah, why would they have the best of the best stuff that they possibly have? Like, of course, the professor would have left something way, super ridiculous out, because why would he have brought that to Souboutei under his current, his understanding of what Souboutei was? Now, as for Barrett and Josephine, what are they getting? Like, Pyro Mary is their main weapon. What else could they possibly have that would help? Like, I doubt they have a giant Pyro Mary. They're machines that you designed and have been working on alone in your free time. We had nothing at all to do with it, understands? Ah. Is that a Metal Gear? I mean, I think it's, judging by the tiles, I imagine it's too small. Like, it's gotta be a Metal Gear-esque walking wheelchair for Josephine. Also, based on this sentence, I assume, of course, that he did not design these. That this is just, he has extreme pull with the military, and so they're giving him some of that stuff that they cannot, legally say that they own. Okay. What could he possibly be using? Like, I assume it's going to be based on reverser technology. Like, it's not going to be something completely out of left field. Though, I mean, Josephine's new walker is pretty out of left field. I mean, again, I think this is perspective. I don't think this is supposed to be a giant Ava-like suit. Like, it has to be something that he can physically wear. I mean, he's also a very big person, so it's gotta be that scale, right? Right? But the way it's drawn, it looks like it's going to be absolutely massive, like twice his size. I also really like, this concept of researching paranormal stuff specifically to eradicate haunted houses. Or to scientifically erase haunted houses. Like, apart from just an actual Souboutei situation, just a, like, in Japan, there are a lot of cases. I've heard this a lot from foreigners, like, from Americans specifically, who will go to Japan and, get a apartment that no one wants to buy because it's haunted. Like, because someone committed suicide in it or something, and so it's got some bad juju. But of course, if you're not part of that, if you're not part of that belief system, then it's fine. Like, you don't really care. So I can understand how, especially if you were, like, I know the professor is American, but I can understand why in those kinds of situations he would get a grant for something that scientifically destroys ghosts. Because that way you could, like, that increases property values. I also really like that we didn't split it up amongst absolutely every faction. Like Yadarigi did not go and do something by herself. Like, we did split it into just the two old men, essentially. I also really like this cut here. Of, man, man, woman, woman. It's got a really strong vibe to it. Now what's his deal? I mean, I didn't consider the idea of him potentially being possessed. I'm going to say he isn't, though. I think he is a neutral party who just is, under the natural sway of the Kirita sisters. Okay, now how is he going to pitch this to the Prime Ministers? Because they're terrified of Souboutei. Or, I mean, the Prime Minister, I guess. He's not going to meet all of them. I imagine they would be pro, anything to do with containing Souboutei safely. So I guess they would be on his side in this situation. Oh, is he going to leave it to the Prime Minister, for example? Like, because the Prime Minister and, the other ministers are all aware of Souboutei, is it possible that he's going to just say, I don't have, like, I can't decide one way or another, but I believe in you. Like, I know that you understand what's going on. I just had an idea. What if the sisters, like, what if on the X-rays, or sorry, the CT scan machine, they just took a little bit of the liquid and then used it to, like, overlay the, like, just like a drop. If they shaped that drop into the arrows, that'd be a very simple way of saying, hey, you got the arrows in you, without actually having to do anything to them. Okay, if anything happens to me, I want you to ask him something for me. At the briefing of me and my agents in Fate Souboutei, why didn't you say, stay away from the paintings inside the mansion? Why didn't you warn us? Because he would have known that. Like, yeah, like back in Chapter 1 when we saw him and the Secretary of Defense, like, together in the mansion. Like, I guess we didn't see anything climb out of the painting. I could be wrong. But yeah, like, they should have known. And this is addressing something that could have been a potential plot point, or plot hole, that I didn't even consider. Okay, yeah, so we did see it. I mean, at the time, I didn't understand what was happening. Like, I probably didn't even realize this was a painting and not, like, a door or something. Oh, we've got to see Nakano at some point, actually. I didn't consider that until right now. But yeah, like, she has to show up as an important zombie at some points. Oh, is it going to be a psychological thing? Like, the mansion actually, like, prevents you from being able to concretely talk about it unless you're inside the mansion. Wait, they were drawn in. That would mean that they're possessed. But that is not possible. Like, A, because why wouldn't they just release, the water inside of them? But B, like, they are the ones who spearheaded, the bombing of Souboutei. There's no way that they were sucked in and actually possessed, and yeah, they have to be immune then. We wouldn't forget such an important thing, but we didn't tell you. I mean, the other thing is, like, they were all splashed with the, Seiichi's water. Which, presumably, that water would have pushed out any invaders that was in them. Like, as opposed to just, naturally healing them. Like, you would assume that water would have gone for the invaders first. I love how steadfast he is, too. That, yeah, in this moment, like, being presented with this information and understanding it, the logic of it to be true, he was completely fine with Madarame shooting him in the head and then shooting his best friends. And yeah, Madarame then cannot be possessed. There's no way that someone is controlling him and he isn't taking the shots. Leeches with pointed ends. Actually, did we see any during the the big vision with Seiichi? Okay, so we didn't see anything involving the leeches, but oh no! Okay, I ended up coughing it out before I'd reached the toilet bowl. Okay, so he was possessed. And I guess this is implying that an individual leech going into the water supply would be fine. Or, at the very least, like, an individual leech... I guess that would be it, right? An individual leech could not safely go between, like, even if it were to go out through the butts. Like, if it were to go out through the butt into water. Like, if you're just, like, sitting in water. There's no way, though, right? Like, if you are in a public bath, you are, like, in the water. There is no way that... like, the water is going right into you, essentially. Like, that should be completely safe passage for the leech. So why wouldn't the leech exit at that point, at any point throughout his long life? The enemy can't be detected with a CT scan, so the scans have to be bugged somehow. Either they're bugged, or, like, all the survivors do have, like, those arrows in their brains, but that's just an okay thing. I mean, it's very possible, I guess, that the invaders went into them and then they were torn out, but that wouldn't explain, the marks still in the brain, especially just one mark as opposed to many from when they were being, like, split apart during the painting thing. So in that case, it is the sisters. I mean, it's so obvious, but the series is so good at presenting twists that I saw it, but at the same time, I didn't believe it. I'm feeling up to one more. Like, I was thinking about just continuing to go until I hit a good stop point, but I think I gotta just call it at some point, so let's do one more. I mean, I think this is an interesting place to be ending it. Also, there are two sisters, and the survivors split up into two general groups. So I think it's gotta be one sister per group. Poor Yadarigi. Yeah, I guess this is extremely boring from the outside. Okay, what are they doing with these butterflies then? Wait, so they actually did put something in their heads. I guess that, allows the CT scan to be, like, done multiple times and, at different angles and to come up with the same results. As opposed to, like, just putting something on the screen. I mean, there's the potential extra twist of the sisters are just like this, but nah. I mean, we saw their backstory already. They're not this evil, so it's gotta be the water then. Or, the water influencing them. What are the trucks doing then? Like, are they going to shoot water into Souboutei? I mean, we don't know why they're here in any case. Unless Barrett is the one who called them in for some reason. Like, if they're full of nitrogen, for instance. Like liquid nitrogen. I mean, I never like it when they attack civilians, but at the same time, I mean, also, first of all, they're not civilians, but secondarily, like, I get it. Oh, show me these cool new designs. Ah. Also, I guess first of all, that glove looks so dope. But also, I guess the professor is big enough to require a suit that big. I was thinking about it, I was like, there's no way, right? That thing looks like you could put a small Titan in it or something, but nah, he is enormous. It's a shame the floor doesn't get an upgrade of any kind. I mean, she's fine, she's perfect the way she is, but still. Okay. I mean, I also assume that, yeah, the sisters aren't being split up then. It's just gonna be a big old psychic fight outside the grounds of Souboutei. Okay, this is where I'll end it. Because this is also a good cliffhanger that will force me to jump right back in really soon. Ah, boy, I have adored these chapters. Like, it's been so nice to have Souboutei without literally the physical mansion that is Souboutei for a while. Like, I do love all the characters, but it took me a while to warm up to the psychics, so, or the paranormal investigators, I should call them. So I'm really glad that we're getting an arc that is just them doing stuff outside of Souboutei. It also makes me really feel that this time around, like, the first round of Souboutei was them all being separate forces, slowly working together because Takaha was, uniting them under one banner. Whereas now, they are united under one banner, except for the sisters, obviously. And when they go in, they're going to be a big force to be reckoned with. Still worried about that, that shot of the zombie breaking through. I guess it's gotta be that Taka and the others are stopping the zombie. Like, they've already broken through, but the zombies are going to have to be, held off for a bit until the specialists can come in and just wipe them all out. But even that seems too easy. I guess they might have to, like, cause a cave-in or something. Because, if they've broken ground, that's it. Just, shoot that black water right there, and that's it, you're done. I'm also still a little confused about the concept of having an invader. I guess that might just be that I guess it might just be a situation of, so what if they multiplied in a small amount of water? Like, if they can't get to a main pipeline, then it's pointless. I guess that would make sense, especially if it's only, like, one invader and the Prime Minister. Like, if it were to enter the toilet, for instance, it might be able to live in the toilet itself, but it can no longer control the Prime Minister. It's very possible that he'll attack it or, fish it out of the water or something. Maybe. That's the only thing that's really hanging me up right now. Everything else, perfect. Gosh, what a good series. Thank you all so much for watching. No promises. That has been the new motto of the channel, so no promises as to when the next one comes out, but I want to try and alternate Fire Punch and Souboutei for a little bit. By the time I catch up, Souboutei is probably going to be over, so I'm not going to try and catch up while it's still ongoing, but I'm going to try and, push some out. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Bye for now. Yeah, yeah.